wake up today to be average. So why are we living that way? I truly do believe that God wants us to be wealthy. God desires for us to live our best. You can have everything that you want in this life. You can have the money, the family, the marriage, the business, the car, whatever it is that you want. You can have it. Wealth is your birthright. You deserve to be wealthy. These are the secrets of a money mogul, the keys to living an abundant life. Hey moguls, welcome to another episode of the Secrets of a Money Mogul podcast. I'm your host, Jalesa, and this is episode number 16. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm so happy that y'all are rocking with me. If you're new around here, hey girl, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Today's topic is a good one and one that I've kind of been thinking about a lot. Because let me tell you guys, I have talked to women from all over the country, really all over the world, and it's clear that we all want success now. We all want the benefits of the hard work and the time, and we all want it now. Like, who wants to wait? We live in an instant society where everything, I guess they call it like the popcorn society, where everything is happening instant. We have instant gratification. We are expecting to see instant results. I don't know about you guys, but I know that when I'm starting a new diet plan, I'm starting a new workout plan, I am more likely to stick to it when I can not immediately see results, because that's not, honestly, we're not going to immediately see results. But you guys get what I'm saying here. Like, if you don't see any progress fairly quickly, it's easy to give up. And I feel like when people are on a financial journey, on a journey to reach financial freedom, on a journey to really achieve all the things that they want in life, a lot of the reasons why we give up is because we don't see instant success. So I want to talk to you today about how to be an overnight success, how I became an overnight success, how you can do the same. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So before I get into that, I just want to talk about some of the tendencies about us wanting things instantly. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, you may know that I tried to cancel my Amazon Prime membership. And this is just a quick little story to kind of preface this whole topic. I tried to cancel my Amazon Prime membership because I was just like, $120 a year. There's so many other ways for me to get things quickly. You know, you can do the Target pickup and the Walmart pickup, and all the stores have pickup now. Even I think like Nordstrom's and Macy's and all of them have pickup, which is pretty cool. You can order it online and then literally drive to the store and go pick it up in like an hour. And you don't have to worry about like being in the store and all of that. But I tried to cancel my Amazon Prime membership because I was going to save, and I'm doing air quotes, save $120 a year by not having Prime. And literally, I did not last very long because I realized that I want instant gratification, and I don't like waiting 5 or 7 days or whatever it is that you have to wait for items when you don't have Prime. I realized that I do not want to wait for them. I want them to come the same day. I want next day shipping. I want 2-day shipping at the most. So I didn't last very long without Amazon Prime. And I begin to kind of like think about this in my own life. Like, where in my life am I waiting for like instant gratification? Where in my life am I putting in work, but then waiting for it to like be a success like overnight, right? Happen overnight, happen in 2 days, happen in 1 day. How many times in my business have I done that? And I begin to reflect and I realize that I've actually done that a lot. And I think the first time that I wanted to give up and the first time that I wanted to quit was because I had put in my mind that I had put in so much work, right, into this business, and it was not an instant success. So because it was not an instant success, that made it a failure. So that made me want to quit because I didn't get the instant gratification. So that's kind of what brought up today's topic, how to be an overnight success. And the truth is, there really is no such thing as an overnight success. You guys, that was complete clickbait. There's no such thing as an overnight success. The way to be an overnight success is to put in the work, put in the time, and follow these 5 tips that I'm about to give you guys. Truth is, I'm still, not successful in the way that I want to be, in the way that I desire to be. I desire to help a lot more women. I desire to really transform my business. And you guys know that I desire to build a 7-figure business. Like, that is definitely my goal, but not only for me to do it, but to help women all over the world do it. So that's my desire. And here I am, almost, what year? We're in 2019. I'm almost 4 years into business, y'all, and I'm still working at it and I'm still figuring out. So I want to just talk to the woman who wants to give up, especially when you're on a financial journey, y'all. It is not an overnight success. You have to change habits. You have to change beliefs. You have to change so much more than just let me save 10%. It's just so much more, so much bigger than that. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. Let me preface that. So let's get into the 5 ways that you can be an overnight success and really achieve the things that you are desiring. So the first way for you to be an overnight success is to be patient. Y'all, I have learned so much about patience in the last couple of years. And I definitely feel like I'm the type of person who likes to say that I have patience, but clearly my Amazon Prime example showed you that I have 0 patience, because I couldn't even wait 5 days for who even knows what I ordered on Amazon or if I even needed it. I couldn't even wait 5 days for the item. I had to, go back and reactivate my Prime membership so I can get it the same day or 2 days later. And the truth is, to become an overnight success, to really achieve success the way that we are desiring, is we have to be patient. Success takes time. It takes time to perfect your craft. It takes time for you to be the type of person who makes and keeps 6 figures. It takes time for you to develop the type of financial habits that you need in order to be a millionaire. These things don't happen overnight. And the more that I read about this, the more that I have a lot of friends that are in this industry now that I've been teaching personal finance for a while. I've grown close to a lot of people. And what I've found through talking to them, through my research, through just like conversations with my clients, through helping women, I found that most millionaires, are actually don't become millionaires until they're actually 50 years old. So the 50s are typically when people become millionaires. But for whatever reason, we think that at 25 or 23 or 29 or 30 or 35 or however old you are, it doesn't matter. We think that we're supposed to have $1 million like tomorrow. Whereas we don't realize that if we put in small steps, if we changed beliefs now, if we begin investing early, if we begin just doing the small things to kind of build our businesses, build our brands, build passive income, time will it'll take care of itself. Eventually we will be, we will have built that building. And I think it's Will Smith. So Will Smith tells the story about how, one summer his dad made him build a wall, right? And he was looking at the task as like, I don't want to build this wall. It's going to take too much time. It's going to take too much effort. And I may just be ad-libbing all of that, but I'm sure that's part of the story. But Will Smith didn't want to build this wall. And his dad said, you know what? We're just going to focus on one brick at a time, laying one brick at a time. So not necessarily, feeling the overwhelm of building the whole wall, but just laying one brick. And so that summer, Will Smith was laying one brick at a time and one brick at a time and one brick at a time. And before you knew it, he had a whole wall just focusing on one brick. And I say that to say that there are some small things. There are some things that we can do today. There are some steps. There are some habits. There are some things that we need to put in place that are bricks. And the reason that we're not building our empires, the reason we're not building our walls is because we are so focused on the wall and its completion that we are not focused on laying the bricks and just laying one brick at a time. And if we lay this one brick perfectly as it's supposed to go, we can move on to the next brick and we can move on to the next brick. And before we know it, we will have built an empire. We will have built a wall. And we wouldn't have quit at it, right? That's the type of patience that I'm talking about that you need to have. That's the type of patience that the level of commitment that you have to your goal, right? It takes time to establish these habits. It takes time to lay these bricks. It takes patience, and it takes time to establish the habits needed to be debt-free, financial-free, have the passive income that you desire. It takes time. So patience. That is our first tip to becoming an overnight success, because we've already established that overnight success happens over years. It happens with the changing of beliefs. It happens with the changing of who you are becoming. So that brings me to point number 2. And point number 2, which I've kind of talked about in point number 1, but point number 2, which is the second way to becoming an overnight success, is to do the small things. Do the work, show up, because it adds up over time. So I've been doing a lot of research on successful podcasts because my goal is to, of course, have a successful podcast. That's why I'm here podcasting with you guys, talking to you guys, giving this knowledge, because my goal is to have a successful podcast. It's one of the ways that I want to help women and connect with women in order to help them reach financial freedom. So I've been studying a lot of successful podcasts, and one of the things that I have been finding out is that consistently showing up is one of the biggest things that led to the success of certain podcasts. Doing the small things, doing the work, showing up day after day after day. So that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on doing the work, doing the small things. It adds up over time. So when it comes to our businesses or our careers, or just in general our lives, what are some of the ways that you need to show up? What are some of the small things that you need to do in order to be successful? Sometimes showing up just means being there, right? Being in the room, being present, and being able to be led by God and by the Holy Spirit, and being able to really know what your next move is, right? Sometimes showing up just means showing up to your current position or your current job. If you're working a 9 to 5, if you're working part-time and building your business on the side, sometimes showing up just means being the best that you can be in that position. Like, I've met so many people, and even one of my closest friends has become very successful in her own business with a lot of the relationships that she established while she was working her 9 to 5, because she showed up in her 9 to 5, and she showed up, not just showed up, she showed up and showed out, and she began to be recognized. So when she stepped out on her own, and opened her own kind of consulting business, people remembered her. They remembered her, from showing up, and they hired her for different things. So, do the work. The small things are always going to add up. And a lot of the times we quit before we can really reap the benefit of the small things, till we can see how those things can really benefit us. So, the third way to becoming an overnight success, and this is a big one, is don't live your life by anyone else's timeline. Don't live your life by anyone else's timeline. I don't know who said that by a certain age you had to be married with 2.5 kids. I don't know who said that by a certain time you have to be making 6 figures. I don't know who said that, I don't know who set these limitations on life. I don't know who started it. I don't know who's the leader of it. But for some reason, the women that I talk to all believe that they have to have these certain boxes checked off by a certain period, by a certain time. And if these boxes aren't checked off, they become anxious, they become depressed, they become sad. There's a lot of a doubt, and there's a lot of shame, and there's a lot of self-hatred going on. And I'm not exempt from it. I've wrote the book to that too. I've had my own issues with that too. And that's why I bring it up, is that you have to learn how not to live your life by anyone else's timeline. You have to learn how not to live your life comparing it to someone else that you don't even know, or that, maybe even people that you do know, right? I think I've already said my age on this podcast, but you guys know that this year I'm turning 31. But when I was turning 30 and a lot of my friends were turning 30, it was like 30 was like this big milestone, and everyone was like, "Oh, I'm turning 30," as if it's old, because it's not. But it was just like, if there weren't these certain check marks, if you didn't own a home by 30, or drive a certain car by 30, or have a certain job by 30, or be dating a certain person, or have a husband by this amount, that you were inadequate. And that is just so false, you guys. Like, if it took 40 years, 50 years, 60 years for you to have the life that you desired, it would still be worth it. And it would all be in God's timeline, because guess what? We can have whatever timeline we want for all the little boxes we have on our little paper, written in our little journal, posted on our vision board. But if it's not in God's plan for our life, you can forget about it. And I'm telling you that now. I was the queen of checking boxes, y'all. Like, I just knew, especially when it came to business, I just knew that if I did X, Y, Z, I would be able to check this box and that box, and the 6 figures in 60 minutes box, and all these boxes that I had created. Based on someone else's timeline, because I'm like, if Julie over here, or Susie Q, or whoever can make 6 figures in 60 seconds, I know I can make 6 figures in 60 seconds. So now that's my new timeline, and I'm measuring that against Julie over here, when God never intended intended for me to even compare myself to Julie, right? So don't live your life by anyone else's timeline. Don't live your don't have your financial journey, or your financial timeline be compared to anyone else's timeline. Like, especially in the financial realm, I feel like the timeline thing gets a lot of people, because there's people buying houses when they shouldn't, all because they're wanting to check off boxes or live on someone else's timeline. There are people who are just, doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. I'll just put it that way. So don't live your life by anyone else's timeline. Make sure that you are doing your own thing, that you are driving in your own lane and not focused on anything else but what you're doing. So that brings me to the fourth way to becoming overnight success. And the fourth way is to focus on who you are becoming in the process. This has been a big one for me lately, because there's a lot of focus, and maybe that's just me. Maybe, I don't know, that's what I see. There's a lot of focus on outside things, outside material things, or outside accomplishments, or these check boxes. I'll bring it back to the check boxes. And the most important thing is, and this is a big thing that people who desire success miss, and that is, who are you becoming in the process? Who is the person that you are going to look in the mirror and love at the end of the day? Are you becoming a better person? Are you bettering yourself? This is why personal development is so amazing, because you can look up in 5 years and be in a completely different situation, be a completely different person, all because of all of the things that you have poured into yourself, all because of the programs, the investments, the books, the things that you have allowed in your mind can completely change you in 5 years. And I am in love. I'm still finishing Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. But if you guys listen to my podcast about the live event that I attended, with clips from the live event, if y'all have not listened to it, go back and listen to it. I think it's like episode 13 or maybe 12, somewhere around there. But go back and listen to that episode, because we are always becoming somebody better or worse. So who are you becoming in this process? What type of books are you reading? What type of things are you listening to? What type of things are you pouring into your person? Pouring into you. One thing I love about Facebook is, Facebook has those Facebook memories. And the Facebook memories constantly remind me of who I used to be, like what kinds of things I used to post before everything. And it's like, I look back on those posts and I think, I'm so glad that God brought me out of that. Like, I'm so glad that I'm a completely different person. I still have the same values and things like that, but that I'm just in a different space, even in a different headspace. And I've always known that in order to achieve financial freedom, you have to be, or in order to be a millionaire, like, you have to become that in your head first. You have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right habits. You have to do the right things. So hopefully that's coming across there, but focus on who you are becoming in the process, not just taking the action steps, but always focus on who you're becoming, because you have to love who you're going to look at in the mirror. So that is number 4, the fourth way to becoming an overnight success. So the fifth way to becoming an overnight success is to remember that there's no such thing as an overnight success, guys, that it takes years, that it takes planning, that it takes time, patience, work, all these things that we've been talking about all episode. So I want to talk about being kind to yourself and having grace as you go through this journey, because I know that one thing that I do know is that I attract a lot of ambitious women and a lot of women that know that they are meant for more, and a lot of women who are not wanting to just live average lives, right? And because of that, I know that these women desire, like I was saying, success now, but success takes time. Like if you did if you took one step towards success today, and you took one step towards success tomorrow, and you took one step the next day and the next day and the next day, those events would begin to compound on each other. And I want to give you guys a resource for this. And this is a book called The Compound Effect. And I can't think of who wrote the book right now, but I'll put it in the show notes. It's a book called The Compound Effect, and it talks about how the small things that we do day by day begin to compound on each other, and begin to create bigger things, right? So let me tell you guys the story of the Chinese bamboo tree, because this is one of those stories that I've heard from one of my favorite motivational speakers, and he tells this story a lot about the Chinese bamboo tree. So the Chinese bamboo tree has to be watered and fertilized for 5 years in the ground before it breaks through the ground. Now, once it breaks through the ground, in 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. So the question always remains, does the Chinese bamboo tree grow in 5 years or 6 weeks? Well, the answer is 5 years, because it takes 5 years of watering. It takes 5 years of fertilizing. It takes 5 years of nurturing before you can even see the rapid growth of the 6 weeks. So a lot of us are expecting the 6-week growth without the 5 years of nurturing, without the 5 years of watering and loving on, and without the 5 years of doing the work and laying the roots for what God's called us to do. Right? So remember that there is no such thing as an overnight success, that we should be focused on laying the roots, doing the work, having patience, focusing on who we're becoming in the process, and making sure that we do not live our lives on anyone else's timeline. So that's all I have for y'all today. In a few weeks, if not next week, we're going to start with our guest episodes. So I'm excited for you guys to hear those. And I thank you for rating and subscribing and rocking with me for another week. And I will see you all next week. Thank you.